1 second, I'll be with you shortly. Okay, I should be live on all 3 outlets. Good morning, Europe. I hope you're well. It is Wednesday the 21st. I don't normally trade on Wednesdays with you, but I had all of last week off, and tomorrow will be my last day before my holiday. So I thought I'd come in and make it up to you. Just for the record, I haven't downloaded the most recent edition of the software. I actually simply forgot. So let's get to it. Here's the overnight range. In the FTSE index, we can look at the 15. It might look a little different. That's one of the bugs that has been corrected in the new software. But we opened outside of the overnight range, and we are fighting our way back into that range. Yesterday's close was here, so the gap fill is, well, for all intents and purposes, I think, has been completed. It's a very positive bar. Let's do the same in the DAX. Here in the DAX, we are seeing the closing price of yesterday up here, and we are currently trading about 970 points lower, and we opened also below the low of the overnight range. So the FTSE is displaying strength, the DAX not. Just bear with me for a little while. So surprisingly, the FTSE seemingly much more active this morning than the DAX is. FTSE closing the gap. So is the traders assessing whether to bet on a gap fill or, if you look at the daily chart, are we going to pull back to yesterday's low, or perhaps even a deeper retracement? Bar one has a micro, is a small double bottom from the low 20 minutes earlier. So 1 and 2 are strong bull bars. We're moving into the range. FTSE going down below prior bar low at 8772. I perhaps would like to be a buyer here. Stand by. Did I just miss the boat? Let me just see if I can get a second chance here. 1 second. I'm buying the FTSE here. basically just buying below prior bar low. The entry fills around 71, and I'm gonna have a stop loss around 61. So let me just push this in. So we have two, could be attempted to be a buyer in the DAX as well. Just looking for a slightly stronger reason. Man, what is wrong with this mouse? 4 did get an opportunity to get long below 3 after 2 strong bull bars. It wasn't there for long though, it has to be said. I have a feeling that I was preparing that FTSE chart at the time. What the fuck is wrong with my mouse? Right, well, I know how to play that game. I'll just do it like this, and then I'll do window. There we go. Screw you, mouse. FTSE was in positive very briefly. Aggressive school run has flagged a long above 91 and a short below 66. FTSE looks, it's not sounding with the right kind of, kind of sensation here. Big push up off the open and now just filled the gap and just drifting. So the dynamics in the FTSE and the DAX has swapped. The DAX initially was reluctant to trade back into the trading range, whilst the FTSE was very quick to fill the gap. Since then, the DAX has printed several bull bars, while the FTSE is actually just printing bear bars. Three, 4, and 5 in the DAX are just overlapping each other. Don't know if you saw that, but I put on a simple 38% retracement. It's not that I am overly enamored about using Fibonacci at all. Just at times it's not a bad measure. Okay, let's get rid of that, and definitely also that. And it might even not have been the right high point to take the calculation from, although I'm sure that doesn't matter too much. Coming up to school run in about 5 minutes. I'm gonna close my FTSE. It's just not doing what I wanted to do. Closed FTSE for -8. Just didn't like how it was just drifting. One bear bar, two bear bars, then one bull bar, but no follow through whatsoever. Someone has asked me, why did I decide not to trade the first bar negative this morning? Paul, I don't know what your charting package is saying, but that is definitely not a negative bar. Quite the contrary. That's a very positive bar. So, okay, so you're saying, why did you decide to not trade the first bar positive? Well, Paul, I'm going to put you to the test now. What is a first bar positive setup criteria? Paul got very quiet. Not in the overnight range. The overnight range has nothing to do with the first bar positive, Paul. The first bar positive says that if you trade below the low of a first bar positive, you sell short. Yeah, Paul, you probably do have to learn more, but it's fairly extensively explained in the files. Don't mean to sound like a sarcastic better know, but we do this every day. Coming up to school run now. So bar number 2, trade is slightly above bar number 1. School run setup is exactly how it was yesterday. So the question here is, do we take a long above 91, knowing that it's taking place inside the range, or do we go short? I'm going to do the long side today. I'm going to be slightly ahead of the curve, anticipating it. So I'm taking a long position in the DAX. My stop loss, I'm going to just modify 80 points is fine. Let me just post that. So slightly anticipating a breakout in the DAX. One sec. So just to be absolutely clear, traditional school run says long above 91, and shall we say new research when the school run takes place inside the overnight range says that you should use the anti. And so what I did actually here, I took a chance and was betting on a breakout. That so far is 15 points on the wrong side. Looking at the 5-minute chart, you can say, well, maybe it wasn't the wisest decision to bet on a breakout because 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all overlap bars. I get it. And if I'm wrong, well, then I only have myself to blame. I currently have a stop loss all the way down here. Obviously, I don't need a stop loss all the way down here. And we're going to move that stop loss to the low end of the school run, which is at 66. So I'll move the stop loss to 62. Excuse me. There is a chance that if I get a very bullish close on 7, that I will take a fresh attempt on a long position. So I did get quite a bullish close. So I'm going to attempt a long position again in the FTSE. Okay. Excuse me. So here are the open positions, what they look like right now. I'm going to add a little bit to my DAX position. So thinking gap fill. I'm gonna double up on my FTSE. Would like to see 9 go above 8 in the FTSE. That would give me comfort that we're going to see 81 again. I'm going to close my add-on in the DAX for plus 22. I'm closing my, 1 sec. There we go. Closing my FTSEs. I think I managed to make back much of what I lost. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Sorry, I had. What do you say that when it goes down the wrong pipe? So in the FTSE, I I should hold up for 81, but I decided to even the scale above 8. If 9 came up to top of 8, I decided I'm just gonna I want to clock out of that. That sort of ensures because you see here that I lost 120 on my first FTSE position, which in the end actually turned out to be the right one. And then I made 75 of it back, so not quite breaking even, but all right. And then I got some money in the in the in the DAX on the add-on, and I will probably move stop loss to break even now. So I'm gonna close my DAX here for plus 33, and I'll just take a screenshot of what I have done. Just gonna take a short break. All right, thank you for your patience. Getting out above 8 now, which was about 77. And here we are, 10 points higher. I get asked many kinds of questions. One frequently occurring question is, why don't I trade gold? I have a feeling, and I obviously could be wrong, but I have a feeling that the people who ask these questions haven't really given much thought to what instrument to trade. Now, I could, of course, be entirely wrong, but I don't think they have sat down and done thorough research on what I call instrument specific research. So, for example, an example of instrument specific research is the recognition that technical analysis is, shall we say, using analogy, you want to paint your house, right? Let's get some colors in. Okay, but what colors? What nuances? Do you want to pave one part of it off-white and another one a pale gray to give some contrast? Technical analysis is, all right, let's analyze the market. My argument is, well, no, let's analyze the instrument because every instrument trades differently. You're looking at the FTSE, you're looking at the DAX, but now take a look at the, say, sterling dollar. Well, it's just it's a very different price action. Okay, so you may say, well, price action is price action. Well, that may or may not be the case, because I argue that what happens during certain time zones, such as the overnight session, is has a significant bearing on how the market has to be traded um, during my active sessions. So pertaining to gold, the gold chart that you are seeing right now here and the sterling dollar chart, well, I argue that they can't be traded in the same manner. Yes, you can use price action tools, but where I have found success in, for example, the DAX, is to invent parameters pertaining to time. For example, school run uh, and the likes. And that kind of discipline takes time. It's a little bit like asking Ronaldo, why don't you play tennis? Well, if I put my mind to playing tennis, I would probably be very good at tennis, he could say. But I chose football because I like it. So I don't think that it is reasonable to ask a trader, why don't you trade a particular instrument? Because trading 10 different instruments is not necessarily in your interest. Because every instrument has its own, dare I use a slightly new age expression, every instrument has its own vibration. And this has nothing to do with the spread. Gold spread is not too big. You're looking at a spread here which is just at 0.3 fixed. It's an entirely reasonable spread to pay. Look at the movement just in the last hour. Sorry, actually in the last few minutes has been from 315 to 308. That's, by my standard, is 70 points. So to answer the specific question, why don't I get a new mouse? All right, I've lost my mouse here. Why don't I trade gold? Well, because gold doesn't hold the same draw to me as the stock indices in Europe do. I think that the stock indices in Europe have more participation and are thus easier to trade. I hope that answers the question, Mr. JP. The OR box. What's the OR box, Frank? I can move the others. Why can't I move? Don't know why the gold chart wasn't responding to my mouse. Strange. If I put it on a 10-minute chart, no, it definitely doesn't want to respond to my... There's definitely something troubling it. Developer, is that because the trade from chart software is operating, but gold is not one of those that we... You see how I can move sterling dollar. So why can't I move gold? But I can move it on the daily, 4 hour. So why can I not move the 50? Do you know what? I think it's my mouse. I really think I need to buy a new mouse. What the hell? Strange though. Anyway, so I hope that answered it. If gold was the only thing that I could trade, trust me, I would download hundreds and hundreds of trading days, and I would get to know how gold had to be traded. And before I know it, I would be just as good at trading gold as I am at anything else. It's just a question of finding some patterns that has a reasonable hit rate, and then money management. That's all there is to it. So the DAX did make it up to a gap fill and to the top end of the range. And I wonder if that's just that time zone where traders are going to go, thank you very much. I didn't make it all the way up to there. I clocked out around here. So overall, I had a decent enough morning. Nothing to shout about, but hey, whenever you leave the screen and the desk with a profit, I guess that's better than a kick in the royal behind, right, ladies and gentlemen? I think if I am being honest with myself, I think it irritates me when people ask me, why don't you trade fill in the blanks? Why don't you trade crypto? Why don't you trade gold? Why don't you trade oil? I think it irritates me because I suspect that the people asking don't know what I had to go through in order to trade stock indices with the size that I do and with the track record that I have. And I don't believe that that is a skill that is readily transferable to any other instrument. Sort of an analogy springs to mind when the great pit traders walked into the pit in the morning in Chicago. Do you think that they stood there going, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by the toe? Do you know what? I'm going to go into the lumber pit today. And then next time, I might just go for the 10-year treasury bond pit. By Friday, I'll be back in the S&P 500 pit, which is my old haunt. I don't think so. I think that they honed their skill in one particular instrument and they got to know it very well. And so I think my irritation probably comes from a feeling that the people asking me don't have the same experience that I have, which that's not the irritation, but perhaps that I am making myself available to ask questions as opposed to just creating some distance between myself and questions that really have no meaning and are just draining my time. Because if I had a nickel for every time I've been asked, why don't you trade X? Well, you know the rest of that. Okay. Well, this was a fairly box standard morning. Lost in the FTSE to begin with. I began to get very concerned about the price action at 5. Decided to close. At 6, I thought, okay, inside bar-ish. At 7, new low almost, and then close at high. Decide to re-enter. I think that was a wise idea. And about at top of 8 and 9 decided to clock out a little bit early. In hindsight, I could have moved my stop loss up, but I hadn't because I had a double position on. I had 2 times 15. And while I didn't make back what I lost, I covered 2/3 of it. And in the DAX, I decided to bet on the traditional school run above 2. Ironically, above 2, which is this bar here, bar 6, the market actually went 17 points against me and then began a breakout to the top end. And quite, dare I say, predictably, traders pushed it above the overnight range, and now we're trading back into the range. So here's my performance on this account. Looks a little different on my other account. The way that it actually works is I have you'll probably hear another mouse operating at times, but I just execute the same trades. So instead of trading £15 a point, I trade £300 a point. And so down here, and that's probably why I felt a little pressurized, because I lost 8 points, and so that was £2,400 that I lost. And when you see me trade 6 here in the DAX, which is the current full size for this experimental £10,000 account, I trade 200 on my other account. So overall, it was a decent enough morning. So this £2 here, I just traded that as 50. So it's not exactly correlated. If it was been correlated, I should have divided that 200 by 3, which is what 67. But I did not trade it in 50. I don't begin to trade really odd sizes. And so it was an okay morning monetarily, and also on this account. A little bit of house cleaning, if that's the right word. I'm trading with you later today for the US session. Then I'm trading with you tomorrow. And then I will not be here until we are into June. June the 2nd. I am away. So with that in mind, I think that was a fairly explanatory trading session. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you for the US session. I've already posted the status, and I will leave it at that. Have a wonderful morning if you do continue to trade, and I'll see you later. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.